Welcome to the Monday evening masterclass. Our talk tonight is an Ayurvedic talk on gas or flatulence. And the condition of that is a Vata condition. If you don't know what Vata is, that is the elements of ether and air. So it is a Vata imbalance in the body, a digestive imbalance. And most people have gas at one time or another in their lives. Certain foods can cause gas for certain constitutions. But remember, gas is a digestive imbalance. It is an imbalance. And it is an imbalance that happens where gas builds up, and it's a disturbance in the colon. And in Ayurveda, you have different locations of the body where certain elements tend to accumulate. It's in the large intestines and the colon where Vata accumulates. So whenever there's a Vata imbalance, which can come in from the food you eat, it can come in from the season, it can come in from anxiety, insomnia. It can actually even come in from how you eat. So if you tend to talk and eat at the same time, you're oftentimes taking in a lot of air, and that will show up as gas. So we recommend in Ayurveda when you eat that you always eat in silence or as much as you can. That when you're actually chewing and taking in food, you focus on just chewing your food completely and try not to bring in as more air than is necessary. Okay, so that's another thing that happens. But there's a lot of things that disturb Vata. Vata is really easy to push out of balance because Vata is the elements of ether and air that you cannot contain ether or air. They're expanding and moving all the time. So if it's a windy day, it's really easy for Vata to get pushed out of balance. So if you have a lot of Vata in your body, you tend to feel more out of balance on windy days, more chaotic on windy days. So that's something to consider. So I'm going to go over I did take some notes, some of the things that cause Vata imbalance and gas, and also what we can do, some basic, simple remedies that we can use to bring us back into balance. So again, things that cause gas building up in the colon are different foods that you eat, paying attention to how you eat, chewing your food completely, not drinking a lot of fluids. Also, no cold fluids at all, nothing cold. That very much aggravates Vata. It will also cause gas buildup. So you want to stay away from that. Fermented food can also cause gas building up in the system. So if you're having a lot of gas, I would stay away from the fermented foods. I would also stay away from raw foods. Raw foods are harder to digest and can cause a lot more gas. And there are certain raw foods that are worse than others. And there are some foods that even when they're cooked, they still seem to cause a lot of gas, so like beans. Okay, so if you're Vata, if you're having a lot of gas, I would stay away from beans, right? Just eliminate them from your diet. Stay away from the raw food. Stay away from the fermented foods. Foods that are going to cause gas, okay? So it can be quite uncomfortable. Remember, with gas, if you have a lot of gas, it's going to cause distension. So it can be uncomfortable, but we have some really simple, effective ways of controlling gas. So one is, and typically most of these things are done after you eat, so that it helps with, because later on is when food goes into the large intestines. So one of the things you could do is if you take fresh ginger and you grate it, you want to grate about a teaspoon of ginger and then take about another teaspoon of lime juice and mix it together. You can add a little bit of hot water and then drink it. And then you have that right after you eat. Another thing is a lemon juice remedy, where you take a teaspoon of lemon juice and a half a teaspoon of baking soda And then you put it into a cup of cool water, room temperature to cool water, not ice water, because that aggravates Vata. And then you drink that after you eat. That's another remedy. One of the things that I recommend a lot for people is Triphala. And Triphala is amazing. I cannot tell you how many times that I have recommended Triphala to people for just a basic digestive imbalance, not just gas. And what it does is it helps with absorption. It helps condition the large intestines and colon. And it helps with removing a lot of that gas. So what happens for people is, for most people, it helps with the gas altogether. And then also helps with elimination. So if you're having a hard time eliminating every day and getting regular, Triphala is fantastic for that. If you're doing Triphala in powdered form, take about a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon and you mix it in hot boiling water and you steep it for about 5 to 10 minutes and then you drink it. If you're taking the capsules, then you'll want to take 2 capsules before you go to bed at night. Always, that's the one thing you're taking before you go to bed at night. Okay, so it helps with those that Vata condition of gas. Also, charcoal tablets, you can get at any health food store. Take a couple of charcoal tablets and you take those after you eat. And that helps absorb a lot of that gas that builds up, okay? Remembering to switch to a Vata diet. If you're not sure what that is, please email me and I will send you that Vata diet. There's also a digestive herb combination. Now there's a couple of different ones that I'm going to talk about. The one that I usually give to people is the cumin, fennel, and coriander. And you do equal parts and you mix them together. And I just keep them in a big jar and I always have them. And I steep them. I take a tablespoon or a teaspoon up to a tablespoon. I like more than I drink it. And then you steep it for a few minutes and then you drink that. That's one mixture. The other mixture is cumin and fennel and celery seed, which in Ayurveda is called ajwan or ajwan. I'm not very good at pronunciations. Equal parts again, and you will want to roast those. So you can just kind of roast them up in the pan. And then you take about a half a teaspoon of that mixture and you chew on it after you eat. So you just chew it till it's really dissolved, swallow it, and then take about 1/3 of a cup of warm water and drink it. And that's also done after you eat. And so those are some really simple, very, very simple things that you can do after you eat, and Triphala at night to help with absorption, to help with gas. Okay. And we all have it at one time or another. Really pay attention to those foods that are causing gas, because a lot of times it's specific to a particular food. So know what's going on. I always recommend having a journal, a food journal. You journal. I ate this happened. I ate that happened. I didn't eat, this happened, right? Pay attention to what happens in your body with certain foods. And then you get a really good idea of how your constitution works, how your body works, and what your body needs, okay? So if you have any questions, reach out to me, send me an email, aspiredelements@gmail.com, or you can look below at the link and check out my website as well.